Some people say that Johnnie Walker Blue is the pinnacle of blended whiskey. In this video, we're going to put that to the test. We have the entire Johnnie Walker range. I'm going to try every single one of them, blind, and then I'm going to rank them so we can find out whether or not Johnnie Walker Blue is really worth the price tag, or if you should just buy a pack of Sharpies. If this is your first time watching a Top Whiskeys video, make sure you click the subscribe button. We do whiskey videos like this every week. We do whiskey news, whiskey tasting, and we give away a free bottle of premium whiskey every month. Make sure you ding the bell so you don't miss out. I'm tasting all of these whiskeys blind. I won't know what they are, but you will, thanks to the magic of post-production. But in order to do that, we need to have a system to keep track of what whiskey is what. Because I have a feeling that after having all 8 of these whiskeys, I might be slightly inebriated. So let's keep track of things. While I'm getting ready, let's take this time to talk a little bit about Johnnie Walker and pause briefly to show that I'm an idiot. Uh-oh. I'm not even drunk yet. Throughout its history, Johnnie Walker has had different blends at different price points. The Red Label is a non-age statement blend. It's been the world's best-selling Scotch whiskey since 1945. Black Label is aged 12 years old and is one of the world's best-selling Scotches. Double Black made its first appearance in 2011. The whiskey took Black Label as a blueprint and then added more peaty malts to it to give it a more heavy flavor, and it's matured in heavily charred old oak casks. Green Label was first introduced in 1997 as Johnnie Walker Pure Malt 15-year-old. It was renamed Johnnie Walker Green Label in 2004. Green Label is a blended malt whiskey, which means it's made by mixing single malts with no grain whiskey added. All the whiskeys are aged for a minimum of 18 years. Diageo discontinued Green Label in 2012, but it was so popular that it had to come back and was reintroduced in 2016. Johnnie Walker Green Island was originally released as a travel retail exclusive and is made as a variation on Green Label, with a hearty helping of smoky Islay whiskey at its core. It also reminds me of the Weezer song Island in the Sun from their Green album, but I'm guessing that's just a coincidence. Gold Label is a blend of over 15 single malts. It was derived from Alexander II's blending notes for a whiskey to commemorate Johnnie Walker's centenary. Originally, Gold Label was bottled at 18 years old and labeled the Centenary Blend. In 2013, Gold Label was replaced by a no-age statement whiskey labeled Gold Label Reserve, which is the one that I'm tasting today. Johnnie Walker, aged 18 years, was originally known as Platinum Label. Platinum Label as a name was discontinued in the mid-2017s and was replaced by Johnnie Walker, aged 18 years. But the two whiskeys are absolutely identical except for the label. So most people still call Johnnie Walker, aged 18 years, the Platinum Label. Now, I'm just going to need some help from my lovely assistant.
That's me, isn't it?
That's you, yeah. Johnnie Walker Blue Label is Johnnie Walker's premium blend. It's a no-age statement whiskey and is blended to recreate the character and taste of some of the earliest whiskey blends of the 19th century. The bottles are numbered serially and sold in a silk-lined box and accompanied with a certificate of authenticity. It is one of the most expensive blended Scotch whiskies on the market, with prices ranging between $117 up to $450. There have been over 25 different limited editions, all of which carry a different price tag, but it's the same whiskey in the bottle. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. What's interesting is that these are all exactly the same color. I don't actually know if Johnnie Walker does artificial coloring. I'm assuming they must, because I mean, these are exactly the same shade. I mean, this is pure blind tasting without, I mean, so I'm not blind, but they look exactly the same, which is cool. Definitely, you know that I'm not cheating because there is no way to tell these apart. All right, here we go. Nice nose. So I realized that was like the worst tasting note ever. Nice nose. I mean, if anything, I might not even be talking about a whiskey. Maybe I can be a bit more descriptive. No. I mean, it's not an overpowering nose, just there's a nose. A nose by any other name would still smell. And that's all you got. Not getting, it's got a nice finish. It's probably an off dry, a light body. We'll start that one in the middle. Because obviously there's no other place to start than just in the middle. Whatever that one is, I'm not overwhelmed. Whelmed. Moving on to the next one. It's a more interesting nose. Like a grainy, sort of grassy nose. On the palate, it's a lot more well constructed. It's sweet, sort of a maybe a medium to a light body. I feel like the balance in this whiskey is something I enjoy more than this one, and it's got a decent finish, so that one is going to go ahead of that. Just getting ready. So this one, very light nose. I say light, it's still not astringent, but a bit more of a hit than this one on the nose. I know that you're watching this video and it's maybe slightly less interesting if you don't have all these whiskeys in front of you, but it is really cool to try these side by side. This one, which you know what it is, I have no idea, on the palate is much more, it's got a lot more going on, much more complex and interesting. I think this might be my new favorite. Ooh, that's a tough one, actually. This is gonna be a long video. I hope you guys are prepared. And that's not the point where you guys just give up on me. I think this is going to be really interesting to see where we get to in the end. These are both actually really good whiskeys. They're very different from each other. I think, for my taste, I prefer this one. But I'm liking, having gone back to it, I'm liking the sweeter notes in this. This tastes to me a bit more classically Speyside. This one is a bit more robust, and I think that's appealing to me a bit more. Very light nose on this one. Also very light on the palate, very thin-bodied. Not a lot of nuance, not a lot of complexity. It's really strange to believe that this is coming from the same distillery that made that one. It's not a bad whiskey by any means, but to me, this is a much less compelling, maybe slightly less interesting whiskey. I'm probably going to put this one on the end. So this one's also like, I feel like it has some more, I want to say flavor. It sounds offensive. A bit more flavor. Think that this is like, again, definitely used to at the end, but not giving me a whole lot to work with here. I feel this one is definitely the thinnest, and with having not a lot of body and not a lot of complexity to it, more on the boring end. That's an interesting nose on this one. Again, so interesting to me trying all of them together. It is a bit nuttier on the nose. Much sweeter on the palate, well balanced. The body is maybe a bit more of a solid medium body. Flavors are really well integrated together. The alcohol is also well integrated. So I think I like this one more than these two, which I thought were quite thin. Having gone back to this one is now tasting slightly more harsh to me compared to this. I mean, it's not, this is not harsh, but the alcohol I don't think is quite as well integrated. Whereas I feel like with this one, I'm getting more, it's a bit better constructed to me. But I still think for my taste, I find this one still a bit more challenging, a bit more, it's giving me more to work with, a bit more to enjoy. But this one is still a very well constructed, very good whiskey. So I'll put these two together. But I could almost, it's like these two do feel like very different sorts of whiskeys. All right, so moving swiftly on. This is an interesting one. So this is a lot more inviting on the nose. A bit appley maybe, sweeter. So on the palate, it is well integrated. When I say integrated, I mean the alcohol to me feels very well constructed. It's not harsh. It's not necessarily even warming. It's very, very smooth alcohol. Getting some really good, interesting flavors. I think, and it's difficult because these ones on the end, I liked the kind of robust, strong flavors that came through. But I'm thinking on this one, I might like that this is a bit more nuanced. Yeah, I feel like these ones are, I mean, I like the flavor, but they're not quite as well balanced or well integrated, I think, as this. And it's difficult to compare because they are all very, very different. But I think this might be my new leader. Contentious. But they're all really different. This is actually a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, because trying these whiskeys together, they're all very, very distinct and different flavors. And they don't even necessarily feel like, I mean, they're obviously all blends, so it doesn't feel like they've actually all come from the same distillery, because they do have very unique and very specific flavor profiles. Moving on to the next one. That's a great nose. Interesting. It's a thinner, lighter body, maybe more of an off dry. The alcohol is well integrated. The flavors aren't overpowering, but it has a really nice finish. Might be... Okay, I think I like the nuance and complexity. This one feels to me like it's a bit better constructed. So I think this one is still my leader. Bunch up again. This is really hard. I mean, I know you guys are just watching, but this is actually very difficult. This is the hardest decision I've ever had to make. My life has not been that difficult. I think it goes that way. Yeah, I think that I'm liking the way that this one is constructed a bit more than this one. I think this one feels a bit more well integrated. The alcohol is nice, smooth. This one has some really good, interesting flavors, but maybe not quite as engaging on the palate. It is engaging. There's actually a lot of flavor in this one, but I think I prefer the entire integrated package of this one. And moving on to the last one. That's pretty good. That's pretty darn good. Slightly astringent on the nose. Yeah, it is a bit punchy. Not a bad thing, but it's a bit punchier on the nose than some of the others. Nice on the palate though. It's got a really nice, long finish. Definitely more on the dry side. Light to medium bodied, so I'd say it's interesting. The body on all of them are actually probably the most consistent thing I've found across the entire Johnnie Walker range is the body. They're all sort of light to medium bodied. This is nice. I wonder if it's still this is still my favorite. I think this is still my favorite. I feel like the finish on this one is pushing it over the edge of this one. I really like the finish. I like the way this one is on the palate. I feel like between the two, the finish on this might be letting me down. So I think Okay, so I think this is my number 1 and my number 2. I have been drinking a lot more whiskey, so my palate is probably all over the place with drinking a lot of alcohol. All right, I think it's like this. I'm struggling. I am struggling, but I like the body. I like the finish. I also like the body. I also like the finish. I think I like the body and the finish on this one more. Now we're getting back to a bit smoother. I think I'm gonna switch these two. I think it goes this way. We're getting down to these guys at the end. I feel like this one is still just a bit thin for me. It has a lot of interesting flavors to it. It's pulling through some good. It's a palate pleaser. I think to me though, the fact that this whiskey is so light-bodied is just not quite what I'm into. It is nice, but I think I like almost the roughness of this one a bit more. I feel like it's just a bit more punchy and a bit more, yeah, I'm drinking whiskey and I'm enjoying that. Whereas this is some great flavors, great flavors, but it's just a bit thin on the palate for me. And again, still similar here. Still much thinner on the palate. We've kind of gone through some of these here where it's more robust, it's more medium bodied. This is just, yeah, a bit lighter bodied, and I'm not as drawn to light bodied whiskeys. Yeah, so I think it's still, might switch these. I think we're still quite light-bodied here, but there's a bit more nuance, a bit more interesting flavor profile coming through. And again, I've ended up with lots of light-bodied whiskeys coming to the bottom. Yeah, it's this one I think is still not quite doing it for me. I think this is gonna win. Yeah, so both of these are quite light-bodied to me and a bit lacking. I'd like something to be a bit more palate coating on these. And I feel like they have a lot of potential to do really well because they've got some really good, engaging flavors to them. But they're just not quite as sticky as I'd like them to be. I'd like my whiskey to be more medium bodied and to stick and stay with me a bit more. And those just aren't quite there. I feel like they could be. I feel like they have all the things they need to be great whiskeys, but something just lets them down in the robustness, the body, the entire experience. So, here's my order. I have no idea where I've ended up. Because I'll have added the labels, you'll have an idea, but let's find out. So, my least favorite of the Johnnie Walkers is, you're gonna need Ed to help me, is number 4. And what's a number 4?
Johnnie Walker 15-year-old green label.
Green label? I thought I loved that one. It's really interesting because this shows like, so green label is my least favorite. Oh. I thought I really liked Green Label. But, alright, I mean, like, when you try them side by side, that's where I've ended up. This one is, ooh, 6! What's 6?
Johnnie Walker Gold Label Reserve.
Wow! Yikes, and so I don't like the expensive ones, apparently. Alright, ready? Next is 3.
3 is Johnnie Walker Double Black.
Double Black. So I think that's not surprising because, I mean, so I was saying this like, that's interesting. Actually, I say it's not surprising. That is a lot better. I mean, so Double Black, I think, is the one that's meant to be very smoky and very light. And so I'm surprised I wasn't as blown away by the body on that. I would have expected Double Black to have felt a bit more full-bodied to me. But there you go. Number 1! That's Johnnie Walker Red, isn't it?
It is Johnnie Walker Red.
Oh, my
Your friend and mine.
Ah, Johnnie Walker Red. Well, there you go. I mean, so by far the cheapest. What did I say? Was this gold?
Yeah.
Gold. So I prefer Johnnie Walker Red to gold. All right, next up we have 2. 2, that's black.
It is black.
Black. So really like Johnnie Walker Black. And 8.
Your friend and mine, Johnnie Walker Blue Label.
Blue. Oh, wow. And 5?
Johnnie Walker Island Green.
Island Green. I'm not surprised. I did like, I mean, obviously I have no idea what I was drinking, but Island Green is quite a cool whiskey. And what was my number 1?
The only one that's
7.
left, which is number 7, 18.
18, so that's Johnnie Walker 18 Platinum. Well, there you go. I am as surprised as you are. I guess it goes to show when you have no idea what you're drinking, maybe you're more likely to be objective. So I thought this was a really interesting range. I really enjoyed tasting all of these, and I am genuinely surprised that I liked sort of the red, the black, and the double black as much as I did. And that gold and green ended up in my bottom. I'm really surprised, but like I said, for me, a lot of this came down to the body, and I think that's probably what stood out the most to me about this Johnnie Walker range, is that the body on these is not quite what I'm usually looking for in a whiskey. I thought they were all a bit thin. At best, they were medium bodied. Some of them had really great flavors, but I just didn't have that thing to push me over and really enjoy the entire whiskey experience, even when they had those great constituent parts. If you ever get the opportunity to try them all, try them blind, because you might find, as I did, that you're pleasantly surprised at what your taste goes to when you don't know what you're actually drinking. And when you take out price, when you take out brand, you might be really surprised at what you like, because I really am. And I'm really pleased to see that Johnnie Walker Red turned in the middle of the pack for me. Hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And remember to subscribe. We post new whiskey videos every week. Thanks for watching.